So why don't I, Laura, as we still have, I'm sure there'll be more that are joining us, but we'll go ahead and start with introductions. I want to welcome everyone to one of our quarterly executive council meetings here. Normally we're in April, and this year we did move it just to accommodate everyone since we had so many Earth Day activities going on the 22nd of April. So again, I'm very pleased to see we have a great turnout for today's meeting. Laura, thank you so much, Cherie and Maria, for sending information out ahead of time with a shared link on the session lab, as well as putting together the PowerPoint. So if we can just start, Laura, with doing introductions, and we'll just go around. If you can just put your name and agency in the chat, but then just introduce yourself. For those that are new here and may not know who I am, I'm Elizabeth Kessler, and I'm serving as chair of the Chicago Wilderness Alliance, and would like to welcome you today. I also serve as executive director for the McHenry County Conservation District. Victoria, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good afternoon, everyone. I am the Illinois-Indiana Conservation Manager at Audubon Great Lakes and serve as vice chair of the Chicago Wilderness Alliance. And I will pass it on over to Jack.
Thanks,
hey everyone, Jack Brunner.
Oh, there's two Jacks. My apologies. Jack Brunner. I was looking at you.
Hey everybody, Jack Brunner, Tetra Tech, Elmhurst University, and steering committee member. I'll send it over to the other Jack.
There you go.
Hey everyone, happy spring. Jack Darren, Sierra Club Illinois chapter. How about Ted?
Good afternoon, everybody. Ted Hafner, Green Vision Coordinator for Chicago Wilderness Alliance, and I will pass it along to Maria.
Everyone, I'm Maria Sadowski. I'm a communications consultant. Chicago Wilderness Alliance is one of my clients, and I will pass it to Rebecca, please.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Olson with A3 Environmental Consultants, and I will pass it to Vince.
Good afternoon, everybody. Vince Mosca from Hay and Associates and the Friends of Hackmatack National Wildlife Refuge. I entered a little late, so can somebody that hasn't gone pick themselves?
Sure, I'll go. I'm Laura Riley. I'm the Managing Director of Chicago Wilderness, and I will turn it to Scott.
Thank you, Laura. Scott Culligan. I'm with Global Conservation Solutions, supporting on the strategic planning work. I will pass it to Betsy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Betsy Mayer. I'm the Executive Director of Save the Dunes. I do have another meeting in the middle of this call, so I'll have to jump off in the middle, but happy to be here for the portion I can be. And I have no clue who is gone, so I'm going to try Rebecca.
I have gone already, so how about Leslie? If you could.
Hi, Leslie Dorworth with Illinois Indiana Sea Grant, and I'll pick Eric for next.
I think it's more fun watching people just pick somebody. It's fantastic. I am Eric Knighty, Director of Natural Resources for DuPage County Forest Preserve. I know nobody picked Chip, so I'll take Chip.
Hey, good afternoon. Chip O'Leary, Illinois DNR. I'll pass over to Deborah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Chip. Deborah Walker Johnson with Forest Preserve Foundation, and I am a member of the steering committee, and I will pass it on. I think Adam is on.
Hi, good afternoon. Adam Bianchi, General Superintendent of the Forest Preserves of Cook County. I'll pass it to Michelle.
Hello, everyone. Michelle Uding, Director of Strategic Affairs for the Forest Preserves of Cook County, and also part of the government relations community with Chicago Wilderness. And I will pick Eric Knighty.
I just went. That's okay.
Sorry, Casey. Casey Sullivan.
Hi, Casey Sullivan. with Argonne National Laboratory, and I will pass it to Fireflies.
That's actually an AI that we're trying to remove. If you have not gone, would you either raise your hand or just go ahead and unmute yourself and jump right in?
Hey, everybody, I'm Nora Beck, principal at the Chicago Metropolitan Agency of Planning.
Thank you.
I'm Emily Reiswig, Vice President of Conservation and Policy at Open Lands.
Thank you.
Mike
Hi, I'm
Reslick,
Noreen Rana.
Director.
I'm with the Chicago Park District.
Mike Reslick with the Natural History Survey.
Adam?
Adam Flichter with the Friends of the Chicago River.
Great.
Hi,
Tina?
Pat.
Oh, go ahead, Pat.
Sorry, Pat Thomas with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago.
Anyone else? I see a few more hands raised.
Thomas Burke with Christopher Burke Engineering.
I'm Jen Bader with Brookfield Zoo, Chicago.
Great. Sergio?
Okay, Sergio Vargas. I'm Policy Manager of Chicagoland Conservation at the Illinois Environmental Council.
Great. Thank you. Zach? Reese?
Zach Reese, incoming president for Illinois ASOA.
Thank you. Seth?
Seth Magley, Lincoln Park Zoo.
Great. Harshini?
Hi, everyone. Hershey Renaik. I'm the Government Affairs Manager at Save the Dunes.
Thank you. Bill? Bill Miller? Sorry, we can't hear you, Bill. I think that's everyone. So, and I know Bill Miller is with Northwestern University, and he has been also representing the Nature Conservancy. And I think with that, we can move forward. Please do add your name
Laura.
in
I've
the
got
chat.
3 more. That's great. Yeah, if you have, put your name in the chat. And thank you, Laura, and everyone for making the introductions. I also have 3 more in the car with me here. So, Gabe?
Hey, Gabe Powers, Director of Land Preservation and Natural Resources with the Conservation District.
Nora Lee Seller, Trustee of the McHenry County Conservation District.
Caitlin Martinez McWhorter, Director of Marketing and Education with McHenry County Conservation District.
And we are driving back from the state capitol for Parks Day. So we've been down there with our legislators. So we'll get to more information as we go forward. So again, thank you for making time to be here today. We've got an agenda with a variety of programs and activities, really exciting of progress that's being made through all our groups. So glad that we have so many joining us this afternoon. But to begin, I will take a motion to approve the Executive Council meeting agenda for today as presented.
I will make a motion. This is Victoria.
Thank you, Victoria. Do I have a second?
Second. Hey, this is Jack Runner. I'll second that.
Thank you, Jack. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, motion by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, agenda is approved. To begin though, and to go back, here's our steering committee. You're familiar with these wonderful individuals that are helping to lead throughout the year. And I would be remiss. We did receive notice this past week that Linda Gudrian from the Field Museum will be stepping down from our steering committee. And we want to thank her for her service. And so therefore, we will have a position open of an unfilled term. And actually later on, we'll talk a little bit about the nomination process coming up for the following year. But again, Laura, thank you so much for your contributions that you brought while you were with here. So again, thank you. All right, moving next into items that we have specifically of old business to take care of. We've got the January 28th Executive Council meeting minutes. So I'll take a motion to approve. Vince, well, you should move. Vince is our secretary. So let me turn it to you.
I'd like to get a motion to approve the Executive Council meeting from January 28th, 2026, please.
So moved.
Second? Second. Who was the second?
I will second, Victoria.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Thank you, Vince. Appreciate that. Thank you, everyone. All right, Emily, I'm going to turn it over to you on the treasurer's report.
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. So I think high level, everything continues to go well on the financial side of CWA. I'm not going to go into detail with the reports. They are linked in the session lab. But overall, we continue to have robust reserves. Membership dues are coming in. I will highlight, if you have not submitted your membership dues for the 2026 fiscal year, please work with Laura to do that. That is a big part of how we're able to deliver the impact as an alliance that we need to. And expenses continue to go well as well. Majority of our expenses over the last quarter and will continue this year are about Congress. So I think that's it. If there are no other questions, I'll pause for any questions. If there are no questions, I will take a motion to approve the treasurer's report for Q1.
So moved.
Thank you. A second.
Second. Ted
Thank
Happ.
you, Ted. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily, very much. Oh, here's the flash of the first quarter, March 31st. So, well, good. Thank you so much for putting all that together and all the work you do, Emily, on our finances. All right, 30th anniversary. So I'm going to turn this over to Laura, Victoria, and John, and Cherie and Deborah. There's many of you that are involved with the Congress as well. So.
Yeah, so I'll jump in. So if you haven't already seen, Congress is going to be Friday, November 6th at the College of Lake County in Grays Lake. We have been thrilled to be working through 4 field trips for the event, which will be the day before Congress on November 5th. We have 3 full-day field trips in the works, one being Hackmatack, one being Seeds that explores Rollins in Lake County and the Chicago Botanic Garden. Another that will be the Lake Plains Coastal Partnership, which is a 2 half-day option. There will be a morning event and then there will be an afternoon event and there'll be a shared networking lunch. And then the other is a Growing with Ag field trip at various sites, farms and sustainable agricultural sites within Lake County as well. So stay tuned for more information about that. Tickets will be available in August and we will be seeking sponsorship very soon. The theme for this year's Congress is Growing Forward Together, the Alliance at 30. So we are really excited to be taking a look back at the rich legacy of the 30 years of the Alliance history, and then thrilled that we'll be able to launch our strategic plan to look at what the next 5, 10, 30 years will look like for the Alliance. So we're very excited about that. The subcommittees are meeting. If you have an interest or if anyone from your staff is interested in helping to plan the field trips, the plenary, or the 30th anniversaries, and especially the call for proposals. Our call for proposals is open. Proposals for the event will be about 45-minute long presentations in a variety of formats as you see fit. There is an online proposals process. We have a call for proposals landing page that has more information, and the deadline is May 15th. Now, we are expecting that we will have some wiggle room to extend that. If you are in the process of completing your application for a week, we're considering that, but proposals are coming in. We actually are interested, based on the numbers that we are anticipating coming in, we would love to get 5 more reviewers. So this is a really great opportunity for someone on your staff or for you to learn more about this. It's a very straightforward process. Cherie and Deborah. Deborah, would you like to say a few words about that? You've been working hard on this with Cherie to refine the process.
No, only thing you could just say it is really a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for me as well to learn more. But as Laura said, we do need more reviewers, and so anybody who's interested in participating, please let Laura know. I think it'll be a fun opportunity. So thanks.
I do too. Thank you. Yes, so these are some of the dates that are in coming up. We anticipate that we would complete the review process between May and June, let people know sometime in July, and be ready to launch ticket sales and registration in August. Yeah, so that's it. Are there any questions about Congress? Does anybody have any questions or anything? Oh, John, thank you.
Yes, Laura, I was wondering if you have heard back from CLC on whether the Urban Farm Center might be available for an event, probably not a field trip, but some kind of event. I know we were kind of tossing that around and they hadn't really said one way or another whether they could commit to it.
So we actually did. We had a great meeting with Eliza and we explored it. Unfortunately, it's probably not big enough for some of the events that we were envisioning around Congress, but we actually are hoping that we maybe will be able to have an in-person executive council meeting or some other events there in the future. Eliza is very much engaged with planning some of the opportunities that are going to be happening on the day of Congress on November 6th at the College of Lake County and Grays Lake. So she's interested in working with the team there to showcase some of their agricultural programming that they have in the Grays Lake campus that day.
Okay, good to know. And just one more question. Actually, just a comment. The seed field trip is actually at the Forest Preserve Seed Nursery. So they grow native plants, they store the seeds, they sort them. So it's a really excellent little tour and a kind of a neat facility right in the heart of a forest preserve. So if anybody's interested, I can provide a little bit more detail.
Yeah, thanks, John. And we're definitely going to get our landing pages up and running with all the details. The field trip committee teams have been working fast and furiously and have done a great job. They've pulled together their itineraries. Each of them are really almost fully shaped. And so as we get to that, we're going to put that all on a landing page so people can see the full itinerary for each of the days. But we're really thrilled and pleased that that the field trips were the first time that we did field trips was last year 2 years ago for Congress 2024, and there was so much excitement and interest. We're repeating it and expanding it, doubling it this year. So okay.
Thank you, Laura.
That,
before we move on,
sure,
Laura, before we move on here on Congress, so the other thing that I wanted to share, one, thank you everyone that's been working so far, and again, a call out for anyone to volunteer. We are going to be having some lodging ability too, of sharing of some places if you're wishing to come into the conference, the night before or the day of, so you're not having to travel. Again, accommodating all of our partners, so she'll come out when they post, as well as we had discussed having a special 30th anniversary celebration pre-conference event, which will be held at the Greenbelt Cultural Center. That will be a ticketed event in addition to with invite and more to come on that as we're shaping. And so I will be outreaching to various partners and working to get a group together for that planning of that event. But stay tuned. That will be very special in a way to kind of help us launch, just again, celebrate our 30 years of history of the Alliance and looking forward. So any additional questions from anyone on Congress?
All right, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Sergio Vargas from the Illinois Environmental Council and steering committee member. And I think Betsy Meyer and Harshini Rakniaka from Save the Dunes.
Hi, thank you, Laura. I am unable to turn my camera on for whatever reason. I even tried plugging my extra camera into my laptop, but for whatever reason, it's not allowing me. But anywho, yeah. I can provide some updates from IEC's end. and provide this quick state level readout. So again, the spring session ends May 31st. So the next 3.5 weeks kind of decide what crosses the finish line. And I'll stay focused on what touches the Chicago wilderness footprint. So first of all, I think this big project that IEC and several of our partners have been working on is this wetlands bill, HB 3596. This is and remains the headline conservation bill. Again, this is our state level response to Sackett v. EPA, which gutted federal protections for non-navigable wetlands. And this bill would fill or reestablish protections for these wetlands that lost federal protections since the Clean Water Act would no longer cover them. And so the status as of this past Sunday, the House version is still alive, but it's on hold in the Senate, where it's negotiating around some scope and exemptions. The Senate companion, which is SB 2401, which is from Senator Ellman, did not make it out of committee. So currently HB 3596 is now kind of the only vehicle as of, I think, 2 days ago. But we are continuing to push to get across the finish line before adjournment at the end of the month. But it's definitely tight. And this bill, most directly affects, wet prairies, fens, and isolated wetlands across preserves and watersheds across the region. And then next, I have the Power Act. And the Power Act is IEC's data center accountability package. It addresses a lot of these water consumption, energy demand, and then EJ siting concerns, which are issues that many of our partners have flagged independently in both this state as well as kind of surrounding states as well. Just last week, we were at the League of Conservation Voters Conference, and data centers and the implications on the environment and land, the land that it occupies, was a big overarching topic, and we see that as an issue popping up in several places across the country. So this bill would be, landmark policy to address this very quick expansion of development. And so the standalone bills are not moving as such, but the substance is alive through other vehicles right now, and negotiations are active. And then our wider ask is we have IEC's Power Act Lobby Day is May 30th in Springfield. So we provide free buses at different points throughout the state. And I'll throw in the registration in the chat as well if your org is interested in plugging in and connecting, and then really advocating for this bill that we're continuing to see in different municipalities across the state. These developers, and not only just tech companies, but speculative development in a lot of smaller municipalities. I think we've seen these companies target these small towns that have low voter turnout. So using that as a target, because they know those are easier targets to get these data center projects passed. But we've been seeing some really great mobilization from communities across the region, standing up and speaking out about their concerns and their ability to kind of slow down this process. And then a quick word on prescribed fire, which is Senate Bill 3399. Both the Senate and House versions of the Prescribed Burn Liability Claims Fund did not pass committee this session, but we'll look to, regroup over the summer with partners and aim for what the next vehicle looks like. And if your org has prescribed fire programming, we'd welcome you know, any design changes that would make the bill maybe easier to land next time around. And then I want to end with some quick wins that are, some bills that are still live and still moving. Some to flag include the DNR Healthy Forest Grants, which is SB 3422. It is in the second chamber committee, and there's a hearing for this bill on Thursday, tomorrow. We have a plastic pellets pollution control bill that is also in the second chamber committee. Mute Swan bill, which is HB 5309, also second chamber committee, as well as DNR Park and Conservation Fund bill, which is HB 5118. And then lastly, this climate displacement report, SB 2980, which is also, again, in the second chamber committee. Well, actually, I think there was a hearing a couple days ago, or I think there was a hearing yesterday, but I do not have an update as to how that specific committee went. But yeah, the bottom line, again, May 31st is the wall, right? And the Wetlands and Power Act are where we must welcome, regional partner pressure. I think these are both very significant bills. But again, I'll stop there and happy to take questions in the chat or follow up offline if that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. John has a question.
Thank you. Sergio, you've been doing great work down there with your group, and please say hello to Danny for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had talked to our lobbyist yesterday about the Power Act, and he pretty much said it did not get out of committee. So I'm assuming since you're having a big rally on the 30th, which is the day before adjournment, that there's some other hope that this might be put in another bill, or leadership's going to take it up in another form. So what are you hearing?
I would not know those details. I did just get an update from our legislative team just a few days ago, so that is the most up to date for me. But I can reach out again and ask what what they think.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Emily, I see your hand is raised.
I just wanted to highlight a bill that I think would be huge for land protection in Illinois, or definitely beneficial to the conservation organizations a part of CWA, and that's the Farmer Tax Benefit Act. The Conservation Fund, Open Lands, American Farmland Trust, and IEC have all been pushing this bill, and it seems to have the Soybean Association is on board. We have bipartisan support for this bill, and it looks like it's going to pass, knock on wood. But this would allow landowners to permanently protect farmland and natural land through a conservation easement or donation of land, and receive a state tax income credit. And that credit would be equal to 100% of the value of the donated conservation easement, or 50% of the value of the donated fee simple land. So it really provides more incentives for land protection across the Chicago wilderness in Illinois and across the state of Illinois. So if anyone has questions on that, but if you can promote that to, or advocate that for your state and state senate and representative, that would be much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Betsy and Harshini for an update on what's going on in Northwest Indiana, in Indiana in general.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Harshini. I'm the Government Affairs Manager here at Save the Dunes in Northwest Indiana. We have a couple of things going on, as always, in our region. One of the biggest things that we're involved with at the local level, which most of you probably have heard about, is the proposed Hobart data center in Lake County, Indiana. This is a approximately $11 billion Amazon data center planned on more than 900 acres of land. The site is located just 1.3 miles from our Indiana Dunes National Park, as well as 2 properties that our organization is actively working on to protect, and then eventually we will, in a couple of years, transfer those properties over to the national park as well. While our org does, we are nonpartisan, we understand that economic development, of course, is important. There's a couple of concerns that our organization specifically brought up with this project in particular. Of course, the first one is how the development will affect our national park due to extremely close proximity to it, particularly when thinking about the visitorship experience. We want to make sure that anyone who is visiting, as particularly Hobart Marsh, which is a section of the national park near this data center, that they're not affected by any noise or other environmental factors that might come from a development of this size, since it is going to be approximately 1,000 acres. Because of the location in the Lake Michigan watershed, we know that a lot of these data centers have water usage concerns, so that's something that we will continue to watch closely with the site. We don't have, when we talk to Amazon directly, we haven't been able to get a publicly available environmental assessment. So there's definitely a transparency question to that when it comes to the project. Most of the other factors our organization is concerned about with this one is more sustainability issues. So our national park is, just for context, one of the most biodiverse national parks in the entire country, in the top 6 easy. So a lot of concerns we have are regarding potential stormwater runoff issues, any impacts to nearby wetlands, disruption to rare bird species, especially with May coming up. This is birding season, so there's a lot of birds that are just continuously coming through our Northwest Indiana region. In case of this Hobart data center, directly we communicated with the city of Hobart's Mayor Josh's office. We talked to him and the Amazon project team that is directly working on this data center. A lot of the discussions we had with them included all of our concerns, given the proximity to the national park. So the latest updates on this is that Amazon has recently, just this or last week, made their proposed site plan publicly available. And the city council is set to vote on it to approve it sometime this week. I think it technically is scheduled for tomorrow. So we will have an update on that. For our organization in particular, we're going to continue to monitor this. This is a multi-year project, so we're going to continue to reach out to the city and to the development team to advocate for the most sustainable projects that we can regarding this. So yeah, that's that. Next slide, please. Okay, awesome. So that's kind of the local stuff. Just very quickly, we're going to go through the federal things that we've been doing. So we do a lot of advocacy with our Indiana congressional delegation to secure federal support for our national park. We are an official partner with them, so we do a lot of advocacy on their behalf. We were actually just in DC last week to discuss some legislative issues that affect our national park. So on the right, on the top, is a picture of us talking to Senator Young's office about some of the legislative issues that help support our park. And one of them, of course, is about the workforce changes with the National Park Service that have really been affecting not only our agency, but all of the agencies. So just a couple of updates on that. According to our partners at National Park Conservation Association, the National Park Service has lost 24% of their workforce since January 2025. At our national park in specific, to be specific, we've lost more than 10% of our full-time employees over the past couple of years. So the reduction has really limited our ability to carry out the operations and resource management. So that's something that we focus on. An example of that is the Legacy Restoration Fund. That's something that we advocated for, supports a lot of the preservation for historically significant structures in the park. So Bailey Homestead, Goodfellow Lodge, Casa Tomorrow. So the other thing that we did focus on when we advocate for federal funding is the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. So a lot of you already know what this is, but for those who don't, this is a bipartisan multi-year program that focuses on giving funding to invasive species, native plantings, habitat restoration projects throughout the entire Great Lakes region. So we do a lot of direct conservation work with our national park. We serve as a grant administrator for several national park projects. So we really do highlight these, particularly in DC. We have Senator Young on as a co-sponsor of GLRI. And of course, as many of you know, this is a really good investment economically. For every dollar invested in GLRI money, it generates more than $3 in economic return. So we continue to advocate for that. And elevate any local conservation needs that are going to affect our park. So those are kind of the high level things that we've been doing. But if anybody has any questions, happy to answer anything.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'd like to introduce Scott Culligan from Global Conservation Solutions.
Thanks very much. I think I've met most of you previously at an exec council meeting. So I'll keep my personal introduction short. What the purpose of this is to give members of the exec council a bit of an update on where we are, what the work that we've done to date, and some of the kind of themes that are emerging and some of the decisions that have been taken so far, a bit of the context around why we took some of those decisions, and just provide an overall update. It is going to be me presenting a little bit, and I guess there was some debate about how much can we make this interactive and get feedback. Would always welcome any feedback from any member here. I've put mine and Josh, who's also working on this project from Global Conservation Solutions, contact details here at the end. So if you do have reflections that you'd like to share off of what I'm going to go through today, please do get in touch. Or equally, please just raise your hand if there are questions or anything that's unclear. There's about 10, 11 content slides here that I'm going to go through. Please do jump in at any point if there's anything that you'd like clarification or you'd like to comment on. So next slide, please. And again, I'm Scott. I'm the Chief Operating Officer. So where we are in the process, I think we talked about, when we presented this last time, we talked about kind of 3 phases. There's a sort of mobilization, setup, discovery phase. That's largely done. We presented to the exec council, got everybody on board with the process that we're going to go through. And then we move into kind of the work. So drafting our strategic priorities and running a series of workshops with the steering committee to take decisions about the future direction of CWA. So what we've done to date, we've run 2 of those workshops. In advance of each of those workshops, we also sent out a survey, so we got lots of input going into those workshops. In between those 2 workshops as well, we actually issued a survey to 80 different partners to get some feedback on some of the decisions that were taken in that first workshop. We got 29 full responses. That proved quite valuable, and we got a lot of really good feedback and some consistent themes from some of the different respondees. So we will probably try and do a bit more of that, probably engage beyond those 80 partners as well. We're working out the kind of exact ins and outs of when that will happen and what that will look like. But that first survey, I would say was a success, and it allowed us to really refine some of the language we were using. I think at this stage, we've settled on a vision, a purpose, a niche, a mission, core values, agreed, fed back on and revisited and finalized. We've started now discussing kind of the long range goals and which relate to the strategic priorities of the organization. I'll give you a little bit of an update of the conversation that's been had, but that's pretty early stage right now. So that's kind of what we've done so far. Next slide, please. And just a recap of the sequence that we go through in defining these things. So we have a 12-step process that we typically take organizations through. We're now through the first kind of 4 steps of that, and we're working on 5 and 6. That's the discussion that we started at the last workshop, and we'll continue at the next. That is setting out our kind of long-range goals, priorities. The first 4 steps are really about defining who we are as an organization. What do we represent? What do we want to achieve at a very high level? We're getting more into the nitty-gritty details of setting SMART goals and things now and setting up the activities that we are going to undertake. There's then an exercise in accountability mapping, and then kind of setting out what that looks like on a 3, 1, or quarterly basis, talking about some of the barriers and constraints and setting up a monitoring plan. So we're kind of partway through the process after 2 workshops. The next workshops will take longer, so the steps slow down a little bit as you go through them, because there's just a bit more discussion when you're taking decisions about what are the real things that you are going to do, and crucially, what are the things you are not going to do. So those conversations inevitably take a bit longer than some of the earlier steps. So next slide, please. just to recap kind of why we are doing this now. I think we kind of agreed a motive statement. It's a bit wordy here, so I'm not going to read that all out to you. These materials are going to be shared, so I'll leave you to read that full thing in your own time. The kind of 4 key themes that came out when we asked people, what do you want to get out of this, both in the survey and in the workshop? Clear goals and focused is obviously the most cited thing. People want a single integrated roadmap and understand what's a small number of things that the Alliance can do and deliver together, and ensure that everybody's kind of aligned around that. The second biggest thing I think that came out was an honest acknowledgement of capacity, recognizing you're volunteer driven with limited staff. We need something that is realistic and doesn't lead us to overreach and underdeliver. Greater partner alignment also came out. Want partners to better understand kind of CWA's value, how their organization connects with shared priorities, and how they can contribute to collective action. And I think and lastly, sort of a renewed sense of purpose. This is a opportunity to kind of ensure and maintain CWA's relevance, signal a kind of confident direction to funders, members, partners alike. So that's kind of why we're doing this. We discussed a bit of that in workshop 1, but I just want to kind of come back to you and hopefully that aligns with people's expectations on why we're doing this process. So what have we done in the workshops? On the next slide, what I will say is going into each of these workshops, we surveyed all the members of the steering committee to get their input ahead of that. And we reviewed quite a few different documents that were provided so that we had good discussion prompts. So we weren't always starting from a blank page. In the first workshop, we outlined the process, the governance, how voting is going to work. We discussed the motive that we've just talked about and refined that a bit. We then walked through the vision, purpose, niche, and mission, which I'm going to take you through today to show you where we got to. We had different options. People voted. We had conversation. We refined the drafts and kind of landed on a finalized statement for each. We also talked about values. We had a long list of them that were potential options. We had people vote to kind of surface the highest priority ones. And that's where we sort of ended workshop 1. And then in between that, we took the outputs of that workshop and sent out a survey to test kind of sentiment and solicit feedback from 80 of our partners. That, like I said, that feedback was really valuable and took that into the second workshop to kind of review that partner input. We tried to distill that input into key themes and 13 key decisions. So for vision, there were kind of 2 or 3 key decisions we needed to make. Similar for purpose, there were 3 or 4 decisions, and we went through and had members vote on whether they accept or reject each of the kind of suggestions that have been made. In the end, we accepted quite a few of them, but we didn't accept all of them, and there are particular reasons for that. And obviously changing things that have been agreed in the first workshop risks unsettling people who maybe were already comfortable with the vision. So we had to have some discussion about some of the changes that we were going to make. But we did make some really good, I think, and targeted changes off the feedback that we received. We took their feedback on our values. We discussed the values and finalized our set. And then we started talking about kind of the long range goal framework that we might want to use, and had a discussion about the green vision, because obviously there are a set of goals there and how that would relate to any goals that we want to set. So I'm going to update you on all that. The following slides walk through each of the vision, purpose, niche, and mission, and set out kind of what we mean by that. What do we mean by a vision? Where we got to in the first workshop, how partners responded to that and some of the key themes, and where we have kind of ended up in the finalized version. So you can see the whole process. So if you flick down to the next slide, please. So vision, for example, what we mean here is kind of what is the world we want to create? What does success look like for nature and people across the Southern Lake Michigan region? On the left here, the draft tested with partners, that's effectively where we got to after taking kind of whatever a stated vision is today, thinking about where we might adapt, tweak that, and discussed in the first workshop. And we landed on a vibrant, resilient, inclusive region where people and nature thrive together. Tested that with partners On average, people kind of on the scale of 1 to 10 sat at about 8.1, so pretty good, but there were some key themes coming out. So strengthen the ecological specificity, and it's kind of plain language came out. So there were questions about what inclusive means in this context, and suggested that equitable access is a clearer descriptor in the context of nature in the region. So where we ended up in the final version for our vision is a resilient, biodiverse region where everyone has access to the benefits of a healthy natural world. We replaced the word vibrant. There was a lot of questions about what that mean. We added in biodiverse for ecological specificity. And we kind of rephrased what we mean by an inclusive region where people and nature are thriving together, to try and make the language a bit more plain for people to reflect some of the language that we came back. I think we got good agreement that is a good reflection of what CWA is trying to achieve. So on to next, the purpose. So this is kind of why we exist, the role CWA plays for partners, and the kind of difference it wants to make. We had a version on the left here, which talked about the Southern Lake Michigan region, our role to convene, connect, and support partners, advance landscape scale conservation. Again, some good themes coming out. The fact that communities and people were explicitly missing from the first version that we had. Some on language, reduce overlapping redundant verbs. And then there was some question about, should this be Chicago, not Southern Lakes Michigan region? There was some confusion about that, and we had a good long discussion. Actually, we chose to kind of not action that piece of feedback, because we thought it was important to reflect the kind of the breadth of landscapes that we are covering, which isn't just limited to Chicago. There's a lot of work across state boundaries, and so that for example is one piece of feedback that we didn't. The steering committee chose not to action. But where we ended up was CWA connects and supports partners to advance the conservation of nature and the communities that depend on it across the Southern Lake Michigan region. Moving on to our niche, which is kind of what makes CWA distinctly valuable, space it occupies that other organizations don't fill. We had, again, a draft that we tested saying a long-standing pioneer of cross-jurisdictional collaboration unites a diverse membership to advance conservation at scale. Quite a few bits of feedback over some of the language that we had used there. So kind of where we ended up, we took out words like pioneer, we took out words like cross-jurisdictional, and we took out words like at scale to try and better reflect what we were trying to say. So we ended up with a trusted convener of regional collaboration, uniting a wide range of partners across boundaries to advance nature conservation. I'm not going to try and dwell too long on here, because we spent a good kind of 30 minutes to 45 minutes discussing each of these in this session. There's a lot more I could say, but I'm going to kind of keep moving on for the sake of everyone's time. So moving on, lastly, to our mission, which is kind of how we deliver our purpose, the things that we are going to do to create value for partners in the region. And we often think of these as a 2x4 statement, we call it. So we do something we work to do something by doing something else for the benefit of something. So we tightened the language. Largely, this one didn't change too much, but we did a fair bit of kind of language adjustments. Where we've ended up is CWA advances conservation across the Southern Lake Michigan by convening and aligning partners, coordinating shared tools and resources, and enabling collective action for the benefit of biodiversity, ecosystems, and communities. There were some challenges on the word aligning partners that might kind of imply a forced consensus, but I think in the end, we took the view that we are trying to align partners. We're not trying to force them to all agree the exact same thing. We're trying to make sure that we are aligned and pulling in the same direction for the benefit of the ecosystems, communities, and biodiversity in the region. So that is a whirlwind tour of kind of what we covered in the first 1.5 workshops. We also talked about values on the next slide. I've shown the 4 values that we landed on. So there was a long list. We had a list of 20 plus. We had people vote on their favorites, and these are the ones that rose to the top. We tested those with partners and refined them further. We've landed on 4 values. So collaboration, that's the clear winner. That was the highest on all the surveys that we did. The most supported. CWA doesn't act alone. Everything happens through partnership. We actually had the closest thing we had to a 5th value was something around shared leadership, but actually that caused some division of opinion, I would say. And actually what the decision that was taken in the end was that actually shared leadership is embedded in how we operate and how we collaborate. Decisions are made collectively, ownership is distributed, and no single organization drives the agenda. So actually we took the decision to kind of capture some of the themes that we were thinking with that additional value into collaboration and reduce the number of overall values. Second is science-informed action, so ensuring that decisions are grounded in evidence. We bring together science, data, expertise to ensure that conservation active is not just kind of really well-intentioned, because there's a lot of very well-intentioned work, but evidence-based and effective. A third around regional stewardship, kind of, I guess, the reflecting the point that the ecosystems, the ecology of the region don't necessarily respect state or political boundaries. We obviously operate in those, but we are connecting partners across state boundaries, across different counties, and taking a regional view to kind of the work that we do. And then lastly, diversity, equity, access, and inclusion. We want to build this healthy natural world. It's for everyone. Not everyone today has the same equal access to it or an equal voice in protecting it. And CWA is committed to broadening who can participate, who leads, who benefits from the work that we do. Hopefully all of these things guide our behavior, the decisions, the partnerships that we make, everything that we do, we should be thinking about through the lens of these different values in future. We then, lastly, in the second workshop, got on to what's on the next slide, which is we started with a bit of a discussion about what exists today. So the GVI framework. There are some challenges with that. When we think about and we did this in the context of what long-range goals should we be aspiring to? What are we trying to achieve? When we look at some of the GVI goals, a lot of them are great, but not all of them are fully what we would call SMART, specific, measurable, and with kind of clear timeframes and measurable indicators, all of that good stuff. Many of them are close, but actually there's probably some improvements we could make there. Monitoring has been a challenge for a lot of them. I think kind of if we're realistic about where we are, only a couple have been tracked so far. There is some risk of overlap, double counting in some of them. So healthy landscape, protected areas, green infrastructure, it all involve acreage, and there could be some confusion. There could be some scope misalignment. So some of the goals might realistically exceed what we can facilitate as a convening the alliance. And I think the overall sense that 7 goals could splinter focus and capacity. So there was a sense that fewer, more sharpened goals, more actionable, would be a bit easier to rally around. That's not to say we're kind of dropping the Green Vision initiatives. I think when we talk about, we came with a proposal. We had a 3-goal scenario to consider. We discussed that. Again, we're in the very early stages of this. But we talked about kind of protect, restore, and steward. The steering committee rightly kind of discussed, fed back, and said, actually, we probably need a 4th around access. Many of the GVI goals would kind of map into those, but we're thinking about, by a certain year, we have facilitated the designation of X number of protected, conserved areas for protect. For restore, we're talking about we have supported the ecological restoration of X number of acres. For stewarding, we have supported the stewardship of at least a certain number of acres. We're going to get into this in a bit more detail and try and fill that in. But we've started to kind of draft the framework of how we might think about goals for CWA in the long term. There was some very good discussion about how we should be setting goals. What is our actual role? Like, what are the things we're doing? How does it relate to this? We got into some really, really good discussion. We're going to kind of pick that up in the next workshop. So coming on to the next steps. On the next slide, please. We've got to kind of finalize that framework for how we think about our long-range goals, set the timeframes and our ambition, kind of what planning horizon are we thinking about, how aspirational do we want to be, how does that relate to the GVI and monitoring that we're going to do. and then translate that into a set of strategic priorities. So what are the kind of different themes that we are going to do? Some have emerged from the surveys already, but how do the different things that we're going to do allow us to achieve those goals, and making that clear link about the things we're doing to the ambition that we have set. We know we want to do more partner validation. So once we get to agreement around some of these areas, we want to kind of test this and refine it further with partners. I think that's been a really useful exercise so far. We'd like to do more of that. And then we'll start kind of drafting the plan. Once you have your strategic priorities, goals, and all of your kind of high level framing around who we are, you can start to draft the outline of a strategic plan. And then you move into kind of how do we operationalize this? So what does it look like in terms of a 3-year plan or even shorter time frame plans? And how are we going to monitor it all? And then with some time for kind of iteration, validation, and finalization before we get to Congress for launch. So I've been talking a lot. Apologies if that was a long-winded kind of whirlwind tour through what we've been doing, but we've had some great discussions. Everyone's been really engaged. The tone of the conversations has been really productive. I've felt people have raised challenges but in a very constructive way. So I think the process is going quite well from our perspective. But there's still a lot to get through, and a lot of difficult decisions as we get into kind of the nitty-gritty. And apologies to those steering committee members who are here as well and have had to hear all of this again. But hopefully that is a fair summary of the conversation today.
Scott, thank you so much.
With that, that's the end. As I mentioned, we're always happy to have feedback, comments, discussion on any of the decisions, the conversations. Our contact details are there. If you want to get in touch at any point, please do reach out. But otherwise, that's the end of everything I had to present. Very happy to take questions, comments, or you may want to move along in the interest of time.
Scott, thank you so much. I just want to appreciate a big round of applause on behalf of us. I can share from the steering committee. They've been organized, definitely the right partner to assist us. They've challenged, and all the engagement for those that participated. And we're really working through to ensure that this plan is something that not only that we all can align with, but it can be put into action, and we're all, as stakeholders, going to carry it forward. So again, very grateful for your efforts. Does anyone have any questions? Well, we do have Scott with us here that anyone wants to ask, or just, we want to make sure if there's any questions or thoughts that you've had as you read the materials, feel free to send an email to Laura and myself, and we'll make sure that that gets fed back into the steering committee conversations and workshops as we go forward. And I'm trying to see, do you see any hands, Laura?
It's 3 o'clock.
I do not.
Last call. Anybody else?
Very good.
I would just like to underscore Scott's emphasis on how helpful the feedback was that was received after that workshop 1, and that the steering committee looked at all of that feedback and incorporated into the decisions that were made moving forward. And so having your voices at the table to me is so critical. And I just wanted to really underscore that for the partners on the call today, that if you have not engaged in a survey yet with Global Conservation Solutions in this effort, to please connect with Laura or Scott or Josh on the screen here to get connected, because we really do want what we're doing to be representative of all the partners that participate with us.
Thank you very much. As you reflect and read back some of these afterwards, again, I'll extend it one more time. Please do get in touch. Thanks very much.
All right, I'm going to turn over to Ted Hafner, our Green Vision Coordinator, for a quick update.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ted Hafner, and I'm the Green Vision Coordinator for Chicago Wilderness. What I'm going to present to you, obviously based on Scott's previous discussion, is a little bit in flux, but it's the system that we have in place right now. So I thought that it would be worthwhile to still continue with this until we've made critical decisions on their feedback and made them operational. This is our GBI stoplight, which is sort of our metrics dashboard, if you will. The first line at the top with the person with the raised hand is leadership. The second one down, the lightning bolt, is energy. Does the group have energy? The third one is, do they meet? The money sack is, are there money opportunities for funding? And then the last one is, as Scott said, metrics. So there have been some changes since the last quarter. You can see sort of the tally at the bottom. Q4 of 2025, we had 18 greens, 14 yellows, and 0 reds. That was before I added the metrics column at the bottom. So since then in Q1, we had 19 greens, 15 yellows, and 6 reds. And now we have, this quarter, we have 18 greens, 17 yellows, and 5 reds. And I'll explain some of those to you. In the leadership category, we had lost a leader in one of the green infrastructure groups. That's the yellow with the green circle on the top line. For energy, we have 2 changes, one from green and one to yellow, and one from yellow to green. That reflects the opportunities that are present in or lacking in the first goal, which is protecting healthy landscapes. And in the case of equitable access to nature, we are undergoing a partner-led, native-led climate summit this summer in conjunction with Trickster and other indigenous partners. So that's why that has changed from yellow to green. Now that that's on the books, in terms of meetings, the managing healthy landscapes has not met in the last quarter. So that's the big change there. And then in terms of money, we have the equitable access as sponsorships opportunities. And those historically have done very well. So that changed from red to yellow because there are opportunities there. And in the bottom, we have started working on metrics for the green infrastructure group. And as Scott said, the 2 pink boxes are 2 of the metrics that will be carried forward for sure. And that's why they're indicated in pink. And then the other 2 we'll have to come up with in terms of tracking. But you can see that 3 of the goal groups don't have metrics at all. 3 of the groups have metrics that are not tracked. And 2 of the groups do have metrics that are starting to be tracked or are tracked currently. The good news here is that for goal 4, protecting healthy landscapes, we are ahead of our 2030 goals, so that's quite nice. And it looks like, based on early calculations for our Green Vision, our green infrastructure group, that we're well on our way to meeting that metric as well, although that metric will probably go away. Do I have any questions on this before I change to the next topic? Nope.
Thanks, Ted.
Yep. The next topic will be an update for the Climate Action for People and Nature 2.0. You've seen this graphic before. It sort of represents our winding path towards implementation. We are firmly in between strategies and implementation today, which is really kind of something, given that this group is moving forward in sort of a lurching but yet consistent pace. Even though we're a few months behind schedule, I'm really proud of the work that this group has accomplished as a co-design group. Next slide, please. So you've seen parts of this slide before. We have the 5 buckets at the top for creating greater power through authentic collaboration, centering community traditional ecological knowledge and decision-making for the greater good, integrating climate and nature into all policies, scaling ecological best practices with an environmental justice framework, and co-producing and stewarding knowledge to support civic action. We have since added one bucket to the list, and that is nature-based solutions repository. Next slide, please, Laura. So here, I'm not going to read these, but I will give you a moment to read them. These are the action areas within each of those buckets, and you'll get the sixth bucket in the next slide. But I encourage you to just kind of take a moment to read these action areas in the spreadsheet for the columns.
And just know that we will be sending out a PDF of the slides will be sent out or attached to our meeting minutes and on our website as well. If people want to spend more time with it. Any of the information from today.
Now, while you read these, it's important to note that each of these action items have 4 or 5 adjacent frameworks, if you will. They are what CWA can do as an organization, what our partners can do as organizations, what municipalities and government agencies can do as organizations, what place-based organizations can do, and what anyone in the region can do. Next slide, please, Laura. In terms of the nature-based solutions repository, we have regenerative landscapes and multifunctional land use as a category. We have water systems, hydrology, and shoreline resilience as a category. Biodiversity and habitat connectivity as a category. Community landscapes and food systems as a category. Climate resilience and green infrastructure as a category. Stewardship, workforce, and implementation systems as a category, and finally industrial ag and agriculture as a category. Again, those will have the same sort of adjacent buckets of what Chicago Wilderness Alliance can do, what our partner organizations can do, what municipalities and agencies can do, and what anybody can do in terms of fostering and making these actionable. When this gets shared out, there is a link to the spreadsheet that has all these wonderful categories and ideas and work opportunities in them. Please do click the link and look through. This is pretty much a complete list at this point, but it is a working document, so there are some holes and gaps. We encourage you to fill those in with your appropriate hat. And or make comments as you see fit. But overall, we want these to be relevant to everybody and encompassing of the many ideas that the co-design group has come up with. I have to say again, I'm really proud of where this stands and what the group came up with. I think it's really impactful. I think it's very rich and varied. And I also think it is sort of all-encompassing to what we're struggling in terms of the climate impacts and how we face them in our region. Any questions? And then the last update I will give is we have 2 deliverables left in this process that are being worked on as we speak. One is sort of a mapping of where we take this in terms of schedule. For implementation, and then the other is to take the spreadsheet and actually make it a living document, whether it's a website or like a PDF document that takes all the spreadsheet tabs and ideas and makes them a little bit more visual and easy to understand. And so that's being worked, both of those are being worked on as we speak. And hopefully we'll have those in the next month or so as we wrap up and head towards implementation. Are there any questions on CAPN 2.0?
Thank you. Thanks, Ted, for putting this together, and for everyone who's on the call who's participated. Many of you have been involved with this from the beginning, and many of your colleagues and staff have as well. So thank you for that. I'm going to run through a quick series of updates. The City Nature Challenge was this past weekend, and there are 2 more events. The one tonight is an ID event. It's going to be at District Brew Yards, and you can come together and help synthesize some of the results from our City Nature Challenge from this year. And also on the 8th, there's an ID event at the Field Museum during the day from 10 until 12:30. I see that registration is required by April 30th, but there is a wait list, so I can help. They're on our website, and there are links to our City Nature Challenge page. There are links to get in touch to do registration or RSVP for these 2 great events. By the numbers, and Maria, I think we had more events this year. We had over 20 events, and we had events even in Indiana this year, and our observations were the highest that we've had at any of our City Nature Challenge events. And so this is just sort of what a recap of our numbers for this year were. And the official results are going to be released after the ID events. I think they're supposed to be released by May 15th, if I'm correct. So the team that convened for the City Nature Challenge, which was led by individuals across the region, will be doing a recap meeting and kind of posting our results, and we'll get that out to you all soon. I'm going to turn it over to Maria to run through our really exciting website redesign. We're so thrilled to be able to be at this stage. And here, Maria, I just put a static image. I don't know if you just want to talk through it real quick, or if you want to go ahead, I can stop sharing and you could pull it up if you want, whatever you prefer.
Whatever's easier for you, Laura. And again, I'm Maria Sadowski. I'm a communications consultant. I work with Chicago Wilderness. Just to give everyone on this call just a quick sneak peek at our new website, which will be launching soon. Let me see if I can share my screen real quick here. So the Chicago Wilderness Alliance has a custom content management system, and we have been using an old version of it before. So we're really excited to launch this new version. It will come out sometime between now and well before Congress. And it aligns with our strategic plan in terms of making more visible and easier to navigate the things that we do together, and also the things that we know our partners are seeking when they look at our website. Things like signing up for Alliance and events and getting our newsletter to hear what's going on with us. So just a quick sneak peek at this. None of the content is finalized here. It's all very much in the staging site, but we did just want to give everyone a look at it and see. Anyone who is familiar with our current website will see dramatic improvement it is. So there we go. So stay tuned for updates. We'll let you know when it's ready to launch.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Maria. There are a few events, and I'm going to go back to sharing. There are a few events that we've been participating in around the region, and they are coming up soon. The first is the Green Teacher Gathering. It's on June 24th, and the theme is Guided by Nature, Reconnect, Restore, and Revolutionize Nature-Centered Teaching for a Sustainable Future. And this event is open. Many of our partner organizations as resource providers are delivering content and workshops for educators throughout the region. And there's a registration link, and registration, like I said, will be open through June 24th. So please share this. I know that many of you have been
sorry,
involved.
Laura, do you have a different slide that has this information on it? I think I'm still seeing Maria's page.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. How about now? Are you seeing mine?
I am not.
Okay, sorry about this.
We're not seeing anything. Nothing's being shared. So I think you're sharing now. There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Green Teacher Gathering, June 24th. So thank you. It's going to be at the Academy for Global Citizenship in Chicago. And I invite you to share. There's a toolkit. There's information about this. Please share this with your networks. And registration is open. It's going to be a great day. It's from 8:30 until 4. And if you have any questions, you can contact me, or I might suggest reaching out to Lydia Euler from the Forest Preserves of Cook County. Also, planning is underway for a Native-led climate knowledge exchange. It's going to be August 15th at the Hillendale Preserve in Barrington. It's going to be an amazing opportunity to bring together stewards, growers, academics, and change makers in the region and learn about the climate issues impacting the region and how we can work collaboratively to mitigate and adapt to these challenges. Again, information about how to promote the event, how to register and learn more is shared on a landing page, and it will connect you to all of the information that Trickster organization is assembling. But it's been a really great journey to work together with partners across the region to bring these Native-led climate conversations to life. And we're excited to have one more resource fair or knowledge exchange in order to be able to do that. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Elizabeth. I hope that, we're going to just go through some announcements. And Elizabeth, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you to all of the teams and sharing of the great work that's been going on. Just some high level for everyone as the Alliance, just to keep on your radar screen before we turn it over to partner announcements. Again, as we mentioned, for nominations for the steering committee at our July quarterly meeting, we will officially kick off that process to begin accepting nominations. So please think about yourself or a colleague if you're interested in serving in a larger capacity on the steering committee. Basically, we assist and lead setting up the agenda for these meetings, making sure our teams are working and helping do the behind the scenes work to ensure that we're moving forward. And it's going to be critical as we move with our strategic plan launch and having that. So please, we welcome and we want to have strong leaders in these roles. In addition, it's not too early to start thinking about our upcoming budget to the following year. We will kick off that process presenting a draft budget at the July meeting. And so if part of your teams are looking for initiatives to be funded or areas that we need to consider, now would be the time, or things that you think that we need to be investing in, would be to advance those forward to the steering committee so we can put that on the docket for consideration as we build that out. And then lastly, again, there's going to be a lot of efforts as we move into the fall with Congress. And so again, I just want to thank you for your time, your organization. So there's a lot of meetings and a lot that you have the opportunity to engage with, but we really appreciate the strength of the Alliance and the direction that we're headed. And it's only through your efforts that we're going to reach the success collectively together. So I just want to say my personal thanks on the action, as well as to our great team of Laura, Ted, Maria, and Cherie that are helping keep things moving from the inside out. So thank you. With that, I'm going to turn it over. Anybody else from the steering committee before I turn it over to the partners would like to say something from the steering committee? All right, hearing none, I'm going to turn it over for partner announcements. So anyone have anything that they would like to share, highlight that's going on in your part of the region?
Yeah, it's Vince. I have a nice announcement. Hay and Associates has been in business for 50 years, and we have our 50th anniversary party next week at Independence Grove, and kind of proud of that. And I've been with the company 37 of those years, so it's been a nice ride, and we got a lot of nice RSVPs and have a lot of alumni coming back. So Looking forward to it. And Steve Pescatelli's band Red Horse is going to play. If you didn't get an invitation, I can send you one, or just feel free to crash. 4 to 7, May 14th, Independence Grove.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Emily.
I just wanted to announce for those folks in Illinois, I think this was sent out, but in case you missed it, we had a webinar on Monday talking about the potential for a state conservation funding push with the state legislator in the next couple of years. We are going to need the entire Chicago wilderness support, especially those that live in Illinois, to make this happen. So if you have questions on that or would like to receive the slides for that webinar, just reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat. But we're at the beginning of this work, and we're starting to build the coalition now. So I hope you'll join us.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the screen? Any other announcements?
I'll share something from Audubon Great Lakes. We're, our regional office of the National Audubon Society, and the national office over the past several years has developed what we're calling the Bird Friendliness Index. And it's not an index of how friendly birds are, because there are some cranky birds out there. It's more of an index of how friendly habitat is for birds. And so a lot of our partner organizations are land managers that are making positive habitat improvements to increase the friendliness of that space for birds. But we haven't had a way to kind of get to a measurement of it. And our funders have been asking us, so how do you know if what you're doing is working? And so Audubon believes we've found the solution to that through this new index, BFI, or Bird Friendliness Index. And I dropped a cute little link in the chat when you guys were going through the legislative updates. We participated in a Wetland Learn and Lobby Day where we didn't actually lobby. We were just educating folks in the State House about the value of our wetlands. And the reporter there captured me with a nice little quote there about the BFI. So you can enjoy that. And hopefully you'll find it useful. And the reason why I bring this up is that we're simultaneously in our 10th year of marsh bird monitoring data collection in the Calumet region. And that data is being used to develop this BFI. And that data is coming from partner sites where they're doing these positive habitat management actions. And so all that data is being fed into a land manager tool that lives online, and that we want to be useful for anybody doing this work to be able to measure their progress. So if that's something that piques your interest or that you would like to get involved in, we are actively seeking feedback on revisions to that tool, and it will incorporate this new Bird Friendliness Index. All for me.
Thanks, Victoria. That sounds exciting. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right. Well, again, thank you for sharing. Our next quarterly meeting is on July 22nd. We will be a hybrid meeting, so inviting everyone down to Chicago to CMAP. And for those that have not been following, CMAP has been great for their engagement. Thank you. I think I see Nora online here. They did have their climate launch. So Chicago Wilderness Alliance was in attendance for that. And again, so if you haven't, Laura, maybe put that link there too for everyone else on that climate plan for the Chicago region, so everybody can see that. And again, it was a great event, so thank you. But we will be downtown. Any agenda items sent along, we'll be sure building out that agenda. And with that, we've had a very efficient meeting with a lot of information shared, and those resources will be available to you. I will take a motion, if there's no other business, a motion for adjournment.
Emily moves.
Moves, do I have a second?
Victoria seconds.
Thank you, Victoria. All right, any further discussion? Okay, there being none, all those in favor, motion by saying aye.
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 Great to see
Anyone
everyone.
opposed? Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned. Have a great rest of the day. All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.